thank you for, for taking time out. Obviously, we're here to talk about,
Of course.
affection. I guess that, the first obvious question is, what was it about, this script and idea from BT that, made you excited to get involved?
Mm. Yeah, it was the script and BT's vision for it, and the character. I don't know, without giving too much away, but this character who is basically incapable of accepting, incapable of grieving, incapable of accepting life as it has come at him, and so he's determined to play God in his own existence and um, reverse his fate. And it really drives him to the brink of madness, so to speak.
And what I thought was really interesting, particularly about your character, is that there is a version of this film where he is the protagonist. Obviously this film
Totally.
we follow
Yeah.
Jessica's character, but there is a
Hmm.
version of this film where, he is the protagonist. What was it
Yeah.
about playing the kind of the shades of grey of this character that you enjoyed, and how did you kind of work at making sure that at no point Bruce was strictly black or white? Because I think you do a really good job at kind of balancing that thing of where we're joining this with Jessica's character, but we don't quite know what Bruce is. Do we trust
Yeah.
Bruce? Do we not trust? How is that to play?
So I mean, I think that I think that Bruce's intentions are good. I mean, I think that Bruce started out as a good man who loves his family. I mean, I think that you could say that even as you see him in the movie, he's still a good man who loves his family. He's in his mind, he is fighting for um his wife and his daughter and for their family to be together, to stay together. So yeah, there's nothing sociopathic about Bruce. There's nothing psychopathic about Bruce. There is just, depending on how you feel about the technology he's using and how he's using it, something misguided about Bruce. And depending on how you feel about controlling, our lives and our futures, Bruce is not really able to accept life as it's come at him, and that's how he finds himself in the place that he's in.
This is it's a very limited cast. The three
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
There's yourself, there's Jessica, and then you've got your young daughter. How much work did you guys put into creating that family unit?
Well, we were shooting up in Bovina, New York, in that house, and there was no cell service in that house. And the internet booster that the producers had would go in and out. So it was just the three of us kind of hanging out all day. And Jessica would come over for dinner a lot, and I would cook dinner, and we would chat, or I would go to her house. We would watch movies together, take hikes together, and just spend a lot of time kind of exploring these little upstate towns and chatting about this movie and about these people.
I guess that must then help you because this film, without, any spoilers, but it goes to some dark places, you guys have to get quite physical with one another. So I'm guessing that having that time to, build that relationship, build that level of trust enables you to kind of
Yeah.
maybe push a little bit more than, had you not had that time together.
Yeah, I think that that's right. And also the schedule, making sure that we were able to film certain scenes before other scenes, kind of get a feel for each other, and um, establish a comfort level, and establish a trust, like you said. I think it's really important. And we're really fortunate that we were able to do that, that we had some downtime, and also just being on location is so great for that. Like, when everybody's pulled out of their lives and plunked into a place that they maybe never would have gone, um, you can really just focus entirely on the characters and on the movie.
I mean, that you kind of leads me on to, you've mentioned a couple of times that the location, it is this single setting, which really helps ramp up, the claustrophobic, feelings when you're watching it, this isolation, what was it like, being on that location? Did you find it helped you kind of, enter the psyche of that character? Because obviously this is a man that kind of feels all alone in the world.
Oh yeah, helped tremendously. And And the place I stayed was very isolated. It was just me in this little house. I couldn't really see any neighbors, and I didn't really know where I was, and there was no cell service anywhere. So as soon as I left my house, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to get to wherever I was going, you know? And I didn't see my family for the time I was up there. So it was definitely it life mirrored art in that sense. It was very isolating in a way that I think was beneficial.
Mm. And as somebody that's currently going through a Smallville rewatch, I have to sort of
Smallville
like,
much. Okay, yeah.
yes, I have to kind of ask, a little bit, about, what it was like, appearing on that show, especially because, again, in your episode, your character's kind of making extreme decisions based on grief.
You're gonna have to tell me more about this episode. I didn't expect you to talk about this, and I don't. I remember the director being like, "Pretend your dog died," and I was like, "What?" And I think that um. So tell me. I'm trying to think. His name was Jordan, and his last name was
Yes,
Cross.
yes.
Tell me what happens in this episode.
Like he has an older brother who is really sick and is needing a liver transplant, and
Hmm.
then he's not getting his he's not going to get a donor. He's dying, and then you
Uh-huh.
strap a kryptonite bomb to yourself, and you're basically about to blow everyone up unless he gets his transplant.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, but I just thought there was some nice parallels where he's making this
Certainly.
extreme decision out of
Yeah,
grief.
yeah, certainly, certainly. Man, that
Yeah.
was so long ago. Oh man, if I knew we were going to talk about it, I would have rewatched it. I would have been able to give you a better deep dive
Yeah.
in the
It's
interview
it,
about
it's
it.
obviously like there must be something sort of like subconscious way kind of sticking out to you even from back then. You
Honestly,
still.
yeah, there's something grief exploration about me. I know. It's true. I've done a lot of movies where someone's grieving a relationship, or a relationship with a parent, or a loss of a parent, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's an endlessly interesting topic, so I guess I'm fortunate in that sense.
Mm. And I guess my final question to you, why do you hope that audiences take a chance on affection? Because I mean, I think a lot of people will maybe come to this because they see Jessica's face on the poster, but
Yeah,
this is a very different role to what people are probably used to her from like Happy Death Day.
yeah. I think that this movie is exploring something that will be a lot more topical very quickly. Um, and the deep dive into sort of where technology will bring us in terms of medicine, the options we'll have in terms of longevity, options we'll have in terms of health, what that will do in terms of like a disparity of wealth, who will get what, who will have what opportunity to expand what has since been the only finite commodity, which is time, so I read Martine Rothblatt's book Virtually Human, which is she uploaded her wife's consciousness effectively to a mind file and then created a robot and then put her wife's mind into the robot. Her wife is still alive, but this was like something they did to have this robot. And um I think it is a horror movie and a sci-fi movie, and it'll satisfy all those wants, but it is also a very philosophical, very heady, thoughtful movie about um the ethics of the future of medicine and longevity.
Mm. No, definitely, I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you.
best of luck with the release.